All right, guys, welcome to today's recap. This is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and today is Monday, July 23rd, and the first of the heavy hitters for the week. We got a huge week of earnings for this week, and the first one out is Google, and they delivered a really strong beat across the board for Google, and they're sitting right at the market maker implied move. The market maker was implying the options market maker was implying a 4.5% move for the stock, and look at where it's sitting, right around there. It looks like it hit a high of 1285. But that's 1267 is the market maker move. So it's funny how that gets drawn in like that. And but their numbers were pretty nice across the board. That they sorry, I'm just looking at the wrong screen up here. But if you look at the Google numbers, they were pretty good. And we did see some call buying this morning. We saw that in GOOG. We saw some call buying, but numbers were very strong. They came out right after the open. 26.2 versus 25.6 was what they were expecting. That's really good. So a nice beat there, and that giving a lift to the Qs. If you look at NASDAQ futures, the Qs finished up about 30 basis points, but you could see a big rally there after the close. So you're going to see a difference between where the Qs closed at and where NASDAQ member futures trade a little bit longer than then the Qs trade. So you should see a pop in the Qs in the morning. But that's basically up about 1% for the day in NASDAQ. So, Google contributing. And then if you look at Amazon and a couple of the other FANG names, I think Netflix is also trading up there a little bit as well. So real nice move. And S&P futures also moving up a little bit after those results. So the first one is out. Again, that's big, right? I mean, that's a big move. AMTD also reported earnings. They reported some really good numbers as well. The brokers haven't been that great in terms of the discount brokers. E-Trade reported last week, as well as Interactive Brokers. Just price really didn't take to it, but they reported 89 cents versus 79, so strong move there. A nice day for options activity, I thought. A little bit more, some of which were kind of small plays in the morning, but there were some kind of sneaky little plays that went up towards the end of the day. BAC. So what did I do today? I love the move, and it gave us I thought, now that, and I had this, in the weekend newsletter, one of the things that I said to kind of watch out for was the financials. They were the best looking charts, I thought, an area that just started to kind of perk up. And you got a little bit of a hint this morning with the move in bonds. The long bond was started to sell off here. And just kept going. So TLT, which is a combination of maturities in that bond ETF, was down 1.2%. The yields, the 10-year yield, I think was up to around 2.94. Last I saw, maybe it inched up to 2.95. Right, so all that that talking that we've had to endure, 2.95, all that talking on financial media about the flattening yield curve, over and over and over and over for the last 2 months. So now, watch what happens if the 10-year goes to 3%. Now you're going to hear from financial media, oh my God, rates are going up. So be on the look for that. But bottom line, I'm joking around a little bit. But bottom line, we really capitalized pretty nicely on the. This is the best ideas list from the Tribeca Trade Group newsletter. And I've got XLF in here, and I think this sets up pretty nice. I talked about JP Morgan, and which I've already been long. I got long last week, the September 115 calls, and I jumped into BAC this morning, and you could see if you go to our trades channel. This was a really nice trade for me. I just jumped in right on the very first minute of the day. Again, I liked what bonds were doing, so I usually wait until like the first 5-minute bar closes. But I wanted to get in BAC right away today. I thought it had a chance to run, and I took that trade off for 80 cents today. So that's a real nice, and that was just a day trade. But so if you go to these charts now in JP Morgan. And again, this they kind of came off the highs, but that's expected. I think is still up 1.8%. If I can zoom out, which it's not. There we go. There we go. But you could see this nice break of the downward trend line, and that's basically, no one knows how long a move is going to take place, but basically above that downward trend line, and the same thing for BAC. You could also see price violating that downward trend line. I saw this VPOC up here, which we'll see if it digests. We'll see if it could get back over. But basically, sometimes we see a little bit of digestion after taking out one of those purple lines. Again, and I like the whole group. I don't have a downward trend line drawn there for XLF, but I think you can also imagine that pretty much we could just draw this in right here. That's not going to be perfect, but I think you know what I'm getting at. And also right above the 200-day moving average. So really nice. And then if you kind of look across some of the other names, whoops, I thought I almost paused the recording that we saw. That was right off the bat, XLF, BAC, a little bit of JP Morgan as well. A couple other notable trades that we saw, TRXC, which we've seen calls in this one before, but by the end of the day, let's see how many they ended up trading for the day. Of course, this is not going to work for me, but it was at 1.10,000. I think they traded more of I spelled it wrong. TRXC. Let's see if that works. The trade alert has not been working all day for me, but I'll wait for that to come up there in trade alert so you can see the final count of contracts that were done. A few other trades that I thought were interesting. They bought some Cirrus Logic calls just for the week. Again, we're going to see a lot of option activity that's going to be concentrated around earnings season. So it's very difficult to figure out what they're doing, how they're positioning. It's completely random, I think, if, when we see option activity going into earnings, whether or not it works. It's really difficult. I actually, for the most part, ignore, unless it's a really aggressive order. Take a look at a couple names here. ZS. Look at how. Sorry, I don't think this is going to come up in trade alert. My trade alert does not want to be working. But they went in. You could actually see this in our system. And you can see, and you'll find that there's more volume than this, but they came in multiple times there in ZS. And they did the same thing in Pivotal Software. These are two newer IPO names. Zscaler is now getting close to breaking out. I would watch that top of value tomorrow. Notice we closed right inside it, and this one I think actually looks pretty good. Actually, even better in terms of a chart. Nice, good 3 weeks of digestion here, and moving to the upside here, 5.5% move. And again, some of these names can keep going, so I'm not that concerned about the name moving up that much. I'm more concerned with this thing moving outside of value. So that looks really good, and you could see a similar pattern there. So if I bring up TS and PVTL, you can see what I mean there. You could see a whole bunch of August 25 calls going up there. All right, now it looks like this finally came back. 25,000 of those August 7 calls that went up for the day. So pretty interesting. EIX also saw some calls. That's a utility name. A few other names. Box saw a little bit of January 20 calls go up. And what else did I trade for the day today? Momo, which I think I didn't see how this closed. I did put on a trade, right around the open today. I like how this is setting up here. It does have to get, above value, which, we're only going to have about another week of July left. But 47.10 is a level to watch. But I thought Momo was a nice setup. Also, BZUN, another one of my favorites that I'm still long, has been stretching up, through the value area, digested a little bit. And looks like it's on its way to the top of value. A lot of volume in some of the cash ETFs as well. One of the names that caught my eye this morning, if I can find it, was VTV. I'll show you a couple prints. Here it is, VTV. This is the value ETF. Traded 4.2 million shares today. That's 2.3 times value. Sorry, 2.3 times the average the average volume for the day. Sorry, it's been a long day. And you can see this was 3.2 million shares. This was a nice looking trade. That's a 3.2 million share block in the beginning of the day, and that's $341 million. That's a $341 million block that was bought, swept, just like we see in options. And then, what's also a little bit unusual is they keep buying UVXY. UVXY. They're loading up on VIX calls as well as UVXY. They're buying that, and that's a nice size trade. I think that's 1.9. Let's see. Let me just make sure. I think that's 1.9 million shares block. Yeah, 1.9, 9.43. So that's about an $18 million trade. So does this make sense, right? I talked about this a little bit in the trading room. When the VIX is around 11 or 12, which is basically, where is the VIX now? Or 12 right now. People are buying a little bit of protection. People do this when the VIX goes down to low, right? They're thinking that volatility might move up. We do have a big week in front of us. You still have a lot of political headlines, banter going on about trade tariffs. So people are buying UVXY and the VIX at really low levels. So, buying insurance when the price is low, I think is not a terrible idea, especially as we've got, a huge amount of earnings this week. So again, pretty good stuff. I'll leave it with Google. I don't think we have to do too long of a video today, but I'm really impressed with the move in financials today. I think a lot of people have been waiting for the financials to get going. They are, a decent weight in the S&P. So, perhaps that gets the S&P going. I don't generally trade the indices. I trade more of the sectors and individual names. So I don't need the S&P to move higher. We've already seen small caps and NASDAQ get to a 52-week high. Would it be nice if the S&P got to a 52-week high? Sure, but I don't think it necessarily needs to. What is the weight? It's right now financials are a 14% weight. So same weight as healthcare, and a little bit higher than consumer discretion. So discretionary. So yeah, it would help the S&P move higher considering it's a 14% weight. All right. So thanks for watching today's video, and hope to see you tomorrow in the trading room. Have a great night, everybody.